Chapter 37 of Absolutely Truly. Let's go. We ran straight to the bookshop. There's something I need to check on, I told my friends as we clattered up the stairs to Aunt True's apartment. The key was still under the mat where she always left it, and I unlocked the door and let everyone inside. Don't let Memphis out. Thespian had been Annie Freeman's winning word, and Aunt True and Erastus Peckinpah had both been in the Thespian Club back in high school. I'd seen it in my aunt's yearbook. The scrapbooks were still piled on the coffee table where Lauren and Annie had left them. I started leafing through them, and it didn't take me long to find what I was looking for. Ha! I said triumphantly, showing my friends the program for Much Ado About Nothing. Hey, that's the show that my parents starred in, said Calhoun, spotting their names. My mom has a copy of that program too. Yeah, but check the understudies, I said, pointing to the cast list, which confirmed my suspicions. My friends' mouths fell open when they saw their name. True Lovejoy and Erastus Peckinpah. My aunt and Professor Peckinpah, Professor Rusty, the guy in the green jacket, were Beatrice and Benedict too. Unofficially, of course. I pointed to the prom picture on the opposite page. Now check this out. Well, that's some hair, said Scooter. Whose, her aunt's or her date's? Asked Calhoun. Both of them, said Lucas, and everybody laughed. Erastus Peckinpah is my aunt's old boyfriend, I said, pulling out my cell phone. Don't you get it? I scrolled through the pictures on it, hoping I hadn't deleted the one I'd taken on our field trip to the covered bridge. Nope, there it was. I enlarged the bit that showed them the graffiti on the rafter. See there inside the lopsided heart where it says E and T forever? That's gotta be Erastus and True. That's the exact place she chose for her yearbook picture, and I think it was their meeting spot. My friends stared at the program and the picture, digesting all the information. Then Scooter looked up and grinned. What are we waiting for? 2 minutes later, we were running down to the road that led out of town. The only light to guide us was the full moon above the faint beams below the flashlight apps on our cell phones. We heard the river before we saw it. It was flowing freely again, thanks to the thaw, and we approached it. We heard a great crack, followed by a tremendous splash, as a big chunk of ice crashed into the falls from the water. Cool, said Scooter, aiming his light on the river's direction. It's like the Titanic or something. We jogged through the mouth of the covered bridge, our footsteps echoing in the dark as the sound bounced off its wooden floor and walls. Jasmine giggled nervously. Spooky, she said. I shone my light up at the rafters, trying to remember where I'd been standing when I saw the graffiti. It was somewhere in the middle, I think, I told my friends. Can you guys all shine your lights up there too? They did, and it didn't take long to spot what I was looking for. There it is, see? That's the heart with the E and the T forever inside. It has to have been their meeting place. The envelope's probably taped up to the top of the rafter, just like it was in the steeple, said Lucas. I'll take a look. Scooter climbed up onto the railing. Watch out, cried Jasmine, grabbing her twin's lower legs to steady him. The X-shaped crosspieces along the wall of the bridge left too many wide gaps for comfort. Scooter batted her away. Relax, Jazz, I got it. Grasping a crosspiece with one hand, he stretched his other hand up towards the rafter. I glanced down at the moon's reflection in the river, and I shuddered. It would not be fun to take a nosedive into the dark, frigid water. I can't quite reach, Scooter said finally. I'm not tall enough. I'm the tallest, I said as he hopped down. Let me try. No, truly don't, begged Cha-Cha. Please. I'll be careful, I assured her. Don't you want to know if it's up there? I hoisted myself onto the railing. The soles of my new heels were slick, and I edged my way cautiously along until I was standing directly under the graffiti. A sharp gust of wind made my coat and dress billow around my legs. I shivered. The tights I was wearing offered a little protection, except perhaps for keeping Scooter from singing any more ditties about my underpants. Holding tight to a crosspiece, I stretched up on tiptoe and reached for the rafter just the way Scooter had done. There's something here, I said after a moment of fumbling around. Is it an envelope? Jasmine's voice was shrill with excitement. I think so. Hang on a sec. I took off my mitten with my teeth and picked at the edge of whatever was on my fingernails. I got it, I mumbled triumphantly a moment later, my mouth full of wool. It's an envelope. I waved my duct tape prize in the air with triumph and handed it down to Jasmine. The others crowded around as it held up under the beam of Cha-Cha's flashing light. I was climbing down to join them when I felt my shoe slip. Whoa! I cried. My arms windmilled as I tried to regain my balance. For a heart-stopping split second, I teetered on the railing. Then my big feet betrayed me once again. Or rather, my big shoes did. Both of them slipped out from under me completely, and I landed on the railing with a spine-jolting bounce, then toppled through a gap between the cross pieces. And then, well, I did the polar bear swim. The last thing I heard before the river closed over my head was Cha-Cha and Jasmine screaming. The next thing I heard was me screaming, or what would have been me screaming if I had enough breath to scream. The frigid water had knocked every scrap of it out of me. I never felt anything that cold. I thrashed in the icy current, gasping and choking. I couldn't think. I couldn't see, and worst of all, my jacket was dragging me down. Somehow I managed to wrestle myself out of it. The river swept it away under the bridge, and it started to sweep me away. I panicked. Flailing blindly in the water, I smacked my hand against one of the pillars that held up the bridge and grabbed it frantically, trying to get a grip on one of the stones in its base. I clung there for a few seconds, trying to catch my breath. Somewhere far above, my friends were shouting, but I barely heard them. I was too focused on not being swept away again. My shoes were long gone now, and I jammed my ice-numbed toes and fingers into the crevices between the rocks, scrambling clumsily as I pulled myself onto the base of the pillar. Slowly, painfully, I began to inch my way up, collapsing in tears when I finally reached the top of the pillar's rough, narrow ledge. Only a minute or so had passed, but it felt like an eternity. My head ached. My teeth were chattering like a woodpecker. I was even colder now than I was in the water, if that was possible, thanks to the wind. Truly! Someone was calling my name. Here! I croaked. I'm here! I looked up and saw Calhoun leaning over the wall of the bridge. Scooter and the girls ran for help, he hollered down. We called 911 too, added Lucas, who was beside him. I gave a feeble nod. Calhoun stretched out his hand. See if you could reach up and grab hold. I eyed the distance, and I shook my head. I didn't want to risk slipping again. The ledge was so narrow. Come on, Truly, he urged. With Lucas holding onto Calhoun's belt for all he was worth, Calhoun stretched even farther down towards me. Bravery comes in all sizes, Aunt True had once said. I took a deep, raggedy breath. Did it come in mine? I absolutely, truly hoped so. Shaking, I rose to my knees. You're almost there, Calhoun called in encouragement as I forced myself up to my feet and reached an arm up overhead. A little to the left. His left? My left? My knees were knocking, and I was afraid my legs were going to collapse underneath me. I waved my hand back and forth. My fingertips grazed on something or someone. That's it, Calhoun shouted. I nearly had you. It was my height that saved me. That and my truly gigantic size 10.5 Amazon feet. Summoning every ounce of strength that I had left in me, I stretched myself up on tiptoes as high as I could and reached for Calhoun one more time. I gotcha, he cried. I promised myself right there and then that I would never, ever complain about being tall again. It was agonizing. I was afraid to even move a fraction of an inch, for fear that I'd plunge back into the river, dragging my friends with me. My toes, my legs, my fingers, my entire body was cramped. This is definitely at the top of the list of things I'm not good at, I thought, closing my eyes to block out the terrifying sight. My arm felt like it was being pulled from its socket. What am I good at then? I listed some things. Swimming, birdwatching, window displays at the bookstore, pre-algebra thanks to my father. My father. Lovejoys can do anything, he'd tell me if you were here. Even this? I wasn't sure. And then finally I heard a siren in the distance, followed by the sound of voices shouting my name. Footsteps pounded on the wooden floorboards of the bridge overhead. There were more shouts directly above, and then a voice I recognized. I opened my eyes and looked up to see that it was my father. A great sob of relief burst from me. Hang on, Truly! He anchored himself to an eye bolt, with his hook reaching down with his hook, and reached down to me with his good hand. Don't let go, Dad, I begged him as his fingers closed around my wrist. Please don't let me go. Never, he told me. Cross my heart and hope to fly.